We're good to go.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a very special episode of the Pokehour podcast. Uh, Today, I'm joined by some of my favorite people on YouTube: Ronin Charizard, Pickle Deal, and Plus Ultraman. The story behind this podcast being possible is an interesting one. We will discuss it sometime later. But for now, let's welcome our guests. How are you all doing?
Doing good. Thank you.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
I am alive and well, thank you.
All right. So, guys, I think we are 8 or so months away from the official release of the new Pokemon games. Any thoughts on the starters, gameplay, or anything that you guys are expecting or hoping that the new games bring us?
I'm excited. I like the starters. I was a bit lukewarm on Fuecoco originally, but I like Sprigatito. I like Quaxley. I'm really looking forward to it as a game. I'm just really curious what the new gimmick will be because it seems at this point that a new gimmick is just a staple for Pokemon games moving forward. But overall, I'm excited.
What about you, Ronin?
My feelings are still a bit of a mixed bag, I would say. And the reason for that is uh I'm the type of person that I try to stay away from as many spoilers as possible until the actual games come out. So when people start tagging me and stuff as far as like the starters, this is what was released as far as gameplay and everything, that's where I'll stay. Like the initial trailer and the initial release is where I'll usually stay until the games come out, because I'm very much rooted in the old school mentality of you don't have the internet, so you don't have the spoilers. So you have to wait. And that's part of the fun for me in the games is getting to experience things. So I don't want to see the decks. I don't want to see the actual region. I want to play through it. It's part of the reliving the whole childhood experience for me. As far as the starters are concerned, I do like the overall design of the starters. I really hope that we get some typings that are dual typings for the starters that haven't been seen before. You know, like Fuecoco. Honestly, I'm hoping that its final evolution will be like a fire ghost. I think that would be pretty cool because we haven't seen that in the starter line for the fire types before. And then so on and so forth with like maybe a grass fairy for Sprigaleo and Quaxley. I think a water fighting would be really cool for that one. So it's just I'm trying to stay as far away from the actual any spoilers for the games as possible until the actual release date.
Yeah, that's understandable. Ultraman, I remember you posting a comment saying that you actually liked the Hisuian Samurott. So, what are your
I
thoughts
don't know
on
if I said that. I think the comment that I remember that was on the
Typhlosion,
the
sorry.
podcast that you and Dill did about Legends Arceus. Also, Ronan, you're in the wrong line of work, my guy. You're gonna get spoiled. I hate it for you. There's no way you'll survive.
This is going to be my first actual year in this line of work to where I'm going to try and duck and dodge it as much as possible, because previously I didn't have a semi cult following on the platform.
You will definitely want to either temporarily or go ahead and just mute some like words on Twitter and stuff like that. Like I'd probably just mute Sprigatito.
I've already done that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I already did that. I did that the moment they released the trailer.
Scarlet, Pokemon, all that.
Yeah,
man, I'm excited. I'm one of the people who's still kind of nervous because it feels too soon. Not in the terms of like, oh well, we did just get done with Gen 8, or the time frame is right. You know, it's the 2 to 3 year time frame where it's like, okay, people are getting antsy. So all that seems right. I don't know, man. I would have really liked to see them take some more time, and maybe just let Legends Arceus breathe a little bit more. Because I was watching, I think, an Emperor Cubone video the other day where he was making the argument there were a lot of missed opportunities between both BDSP, which I have my own thoughts about that, and Legend Arceus, just because we're already on a new region or about to be, and Arceus is pretty much going to get like a month to really be the only thing that Pokemon Company is doing, and then that's going to be gone. So I'm kind of that opinion. I don't really like to give my takes on starters until we see their final forms, because usually the one everyone ends up flocking to stays decently well liked, and then the one that everyone ends up hating on ends up getting its own like little cult following, and that's always pretty fun to see. Or you have certain things like oh, I hope this one doesn't stand up. If this one stands up, I'm going to be so mad I'm not going to take it, and then it becomes their favorite because furry bait.
Yes,
there's stuff like that. But I'm excited. I was telling I know I told Ronan that if Game Freak has really listened to criticism, if they've really taken some time to think about some of the stuff that they need to start to improve on and responding to what fans are asking for, I might, for the first time in a long time, get both copies of the game just so I can either give one away, but I know one thing I really want to do is play through a new region with all 3 starters.
Yeah, that's something I used to do a lot as a kid too. Is I would purposely have all 3 starters to play through a reason just to give yourself that Ash Ketchum experience. So, yeah, it was always one of my favorite things. I would eventually do it at some point, but my biggest hope for these new games is if whether it's Game Freak or they outsource it like they did BDSP. I hope that there's a really good post game, because that's something that's been severely lacking since Gen 6, because they dropped the timeline from 4 years to 3 years between regions.
That's true. So, I mean, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Just going.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Oras really was the last great post game we had. I mean, like the Rainbow Rocket mission was neat, but it wasn't like it was a mini thing more than a post game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just like they really dropped the ball in X and Y specifically. Like Orez was really good, but X and Y, there was so much unleft content, things that were unexplained that should have had some sort of place in the region that could have been used that was never even touched. You find maybe 1 or 2 items, but there's no story behind it. And then, that's when they were also, you start expecting, oh, we're going to get the 3rd installment of the games, which would be, Z at that point, but we didn't really get it. And they just kind of stopped that trend ever since.
Yeah, and I mean, they kind of took some of the things that should have been in XY, like the Zygarde cells, and just transplanted them to Sun and Moon, and it felt a bit dissonant, at least to my mind.
I think they were trying to salvage by introducing Zygarde into the Sun and Moon games. They were just trying to salvage the missed opportunity that they had.
I think at that point it's become more about rushing in to get the next thing done versus making sure what we have going on currently is of quality. Now, don't get me wrong, the current place that we're at is actually pretty good, because now with it being on the Switch and the games having the ability to have DLCs, that could fix a lot of that. But they have to be mindful of that, because if they don't, then they're going to end up in the same problem that they had. You could very well do a main region and then have DLCs outsourced and really fix that post-game fatigue that a lot of the games have had. They don't have it. And one of the things I love about things, like, in my opinion, the greatest set of games that have ever been released are Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Black and White 2. Because of the post games that you get in those games. The amount of content, the amount of replayability on those games is insane. So, and you can play through both games. And
that's a pretty universal take as well, is that those are just some of the best games we've gotten.
And it goes down to, the post game content, because you get to experience more. Both of them feel like you get 2 separate regions when you're traveling through them. So,
speaking on post-game contents, I think the post-game of Pokemon Emerald was really underrated. The Battle Frontier thing, they also had it in Sinnoh. I think that if they decided to bring a variation of it back, I think that would also work pretty well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Emerald is probably my favorite game in the series. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, I would say, are pretty objectively the best. But yeah, I mean, I love Emerald's Battle Frontier. It was fun seeing that in, Platinum, and even in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That could be a really neat DLC. Imagine if for BDSP or even for Legends Arceus, we were to get, a Battle Frontier DLC where it's like, okay, you've done the main storyline, but you get a letter. Hey, we've found Full Moon Island and there's these, 5 strong trainers.
Yeah.
I really like the aspect of the Battle Frontier. There's one thing that always disappointed me when it came to them, though, is I really wish they gave it the anime treatment when it came to the games, and they were spread out throughout the region. And
Oh, yeah.
it could really be a post game type deal to where it kind of like how Ash had to win the first 6 symbols to get the location of the battle pyramid. You do the same thing. You get the location of the first one, and once you clear the first one, then you get the location of the second one, so on and so forth. And it's retaking you through the region, and you get to experience new things and little side quests. That would be really great for post game.
Oh, it would be, because you'd see the region through a whole different thing. Like, I mean, imagine if the first, Frontier facility was in or near, like, the city where you got your last badge. And so then, they're scattered in all sorts of places. You could even have a few, DLC or like expanded places, like, for example, on Hoenn, have one of them, on Hoenn Sinnoh, have it be on like Iron Island or one of those, little islands between Full Moon Island and Iron Island that doesn't have any place in the main game. I think that could be really good.
Yeah, that'd be really great. I feel like the Battle Frontier was just a really missed opportunity in the games. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like playing through them, but I don't like the fact that it's treated like a battle
Amusement
between you
park?
and a friend. No, I don't mind the amusement park. It's you don't have level caps. You don't gain experience, and it's not a true like Elite Four. They're
It's
billed as Elite Four level trainers. Yeah.
it's more so fitted for like the competitive format rather than
Yeah.
playthrough format.
Yeah, and I wish it was more of a playthrough type storyline.
Yeah.
Like when Ash was in the show, he battled Brandon 3 times, but on the third time, Brandon's like off getting this mysterious legendary that we know as Regice, but Ash has no idea what it is. And what if Ash had to go hunt down Brandon, or the main character in Emerald had to go hunt down Brandon because he was seeking out this legendary?
Yeah.
That'd be
So-
great. Having a story aspect would be, a lot of fun. I mean, and you could even do it where maybe you have the Frontier Brains as like very minor NPCs in the main game. Like maybe, just spitballing, like maybe one of the houses in Slacian Town has, an old guy and, he has some generic dialogue about, I like to be in touch with nature. Then when you meet him at his frontier and he's Spencer, you're like, oh shit, you're that guy from, Salacian Town.
Yeah. Yeah, that just one-offs like that. It gives you a little bit. It would give you a little bit more hope for like the post game and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I really miss about older games when they had the 4-year time span. They spent more time on the games. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Battle Frontiers and Brandon, I think that we okay. Before I drop the spoiler, are we all up to date with Pokemon journeys?
Yeah, I
I'm
believe
not,
that.
but I don't care to be, if that makes sense. Like I can get the gist of just, seeing people kind of react to the stuff. Like I know what's going on next pretty much.
Yeah.
I have a
So
general idea. I haven't watched it, but people keep tagging me in posts. So
so I'm pretty sure that we have all seen the trailer of the new opening of Journeys, where there's a
Yeah.
certain character who is supposed to return.
Mm-hmm.
yes, the best rival Ash has ever had.
Yeah, of course. Like, thank God that at least there are some people who don't say it's Gary. I mean, like, look, I love Gary. He has the original reference to Blue from the Pokemon games and all, but we didn't really see him that often throughout his journey, throughout Ash's journey, except for like the Johto League. So I think that it's pretty objective that Paul is the best rival. Even the battle I think was better than
Paul?
Oh yeah.
I thought we were saying Trip was the best rival.
Listen, man, that level 5 sniping.
Exactly, level 5 sniping. I kid, of course. Yes, it's going to be great to see Paul come back.
Okay, so
my biggest thing is I'm interested in. I want to know they're going to give like a hint at what he's been doing. So I want to know like has he gotten Mega Evolution himself? Has he obtained any type of Z moves? He was like very counter to Ash, and he the duality between them was always really, really good. And I want to see what he's obtained in his time since him and Ash last saw each other. That's my big interest in it.
Yeah, in the previous episode of my podcast, I actually discussed that what they could do with Paul, and my major thing was that they should have him like defeat Brandon, or even if not defeat, let's just say he beat all the other Frontier Brains, and that would put him on a similar level to Ash. Like Ash is like the champion of the Alola right now. So I think that if they made Paul win the Battle Frontier Challenge, that would definitely be something to put him on the same level as Ash. As for Mega Evolution Go, how do you guys think about Paul having a Mega Blaziken?
Mega Blaziken, I mean, I know that was what you had with him getting that through Oak and Max in your last podcast. I think that could be interesting. I'm trying to think which Pokemon in his canon party are capable of Mega Evolution. Trying to think. I mean, I'm coming up a bit short. You guys think of any that he actually has?
I don't think he
has any mega capable
I don't
Pokemon.
think he has.
I think the real issue with that is that we didn't get new megas for like some of the starters who probably deserved them, but I'll keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, Flygon.
Flygon, in
that's
as much
the
as
dream,
everyone
right?
claims to love
no.
the Gen 4 starters, I
he's
think
got
all three
Aggron.
of them could have been. Oh yeah, okay.
Oh
Aggron.
yeah, Aggron.
Aggron,
Actually,
yes.
Paul with Mega Aggron could be pretty hype.
Yeah, that would make sense.
He's got Aggron. So yeah, on his current list, that's the only thing that's capable of Mega Evolution.
Yeah.
Plus, with its ability, it actually could withstand Mega Lucario pretty well.
Yeah, it could.
That'd be good. I mean, I'd love to see, like you guys said, him having done more with the Battle Frontier. Having triumphed over Brandon would be good. Maybe, maybe he's a Frontier brain in his own right now. Because
I would say give him Brandon's position.
Yeah, I mean,
why not?
Make him the new Pyramid King. I could see that, or perhaps he's one of the Sinnoh brains now if they want to bring those guys in. Or I'm trying to think, like maybe if Flint has vacated his position, I doubt he has, but perhaps if he's gone more into the World Coronation series, Paul could have taken that place. There's all sorts of things, but I definitely feel that Paul needs to have had some sort of clear achievement to show that he is still on par with, a post-champion Ash.
Yeah, that's something that really needs to happen. I would agree with that.
And while we're at it, how about evolving his Ursaring into Ursaluna?
I mean, it's possible. I think it's just, if that's been extinct for so long, they'd need to find a good way to, sort of justify it. If they had something like, we recently found a bunch of Pete Stones. One thing is, if he's still tied to Brandon, Brandon would probably have a Pete Stone somewhere in his collection because, he collects, archaic stuff. And they could go, oh yeah, Brandon gave me this when I beat him. Now it's an Ursaluna. That could possibly work, but I think they definitely need to, explain it. He couldn't just rock up and go, Ursaluna, stand by for battle.
Yeah, that's true. Burkeeper Toby did a video a couple of years ago, and he was explaining how certain Pokemon that have evolutions that appeared in Sinnoh wouldn't appear in other regions. And the example he used was Piloswine versus Mamoswine. And he went to the Pokédex entry and he said Mamoswine was dug up and it just all of a sudden came back to life. So his theory was that the Piloswines living in Johto didn't need the ability to evolve into Mamoswine because Johto is not as cold of a region as Sinnoh is.
Yeah.
And so they just kind of lost that gene. But, when you find one in Sinnoh and it's dug up, then all of a sudden now you have the evolution. So it would have to be something that's easily explainable through that. And Ursaluna, like the only place it could conceivably live would be in Sinnoh because of the coldness of the region.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So that's his Ursaring down, and that's the Mega Evolution down. If for some reason he had to have a Gmax Pokemon that actually has like exclusive Gmax form, which one would you guys like him to have?
Did you guys cut out? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
No.
I think Dino is frozen. There you go, he's
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Sorry, could you
Okay.
repeat that, please?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So what I was saying that since we discussed him having a Mega Evolution, we discussed him having like evolution related to the Legends Arceus game. How about him having a Pokemon that has its own exclusive Gmax form? Which one would you guys prefer for him?
I'm trying to think if he has any Pokemon capable of, having a Gmax form.
He doesn't. I was just going through the list
Yeah.
when I looked for his
Yeah.
Aggron.
I
Honestly, I
think-
think the most the obvious candidate would most likely be his Electivire. That's just its own Gmax form. Just I guess that would kind of make sense. And it's not unlike Pokemon to introduce some sort of newer transformation halfway through something. So
That's true. I mean, Gmax Electivire or even Dynamax Electivire, if it went up against Gmax Pikachu, that could be something. Trying to
Yeah.
think who else
Is that
could be.
Torterra, because it's his first
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah, I think Torterra being
Actually, Torterra is
Dynamax.
probably the strongest option, I'd say.
Yeah, Torterra would be his strongest option, but they did show a lot of favoritism toward Electivire in the Diamond and Pearl anime. So I think that would be just to give you that nostalgia bait. They would use Electivire just because it's Ash and Paul.
That is true. I mean, another they could pull is maybe, his Magma. I mean, his Magmortar, because I think that would look incredible Dynamax. Imagine a camera angle down the barrel of its cannon arm.
Yeah, that would look really good. So that's definitely a candidate. I feel like Torterra and Electivire would be the most likely ones, though, just because of Torterra being the first one and Electivire being so prominent in the anime.
That's true.
Electivire is coming back. Like the rivalry Electivire had with Infernape, they're not going to leave Infernape on the sidelines for that. They're going to bring him back.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the fact that they've set Flint up as now the closest one to Ash in rank, Ash being 9, Flint being 8.
Is anybody else
feel
upset about that? I don't feel like
But
Flint should be there.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. I feel Flint was an absolute waste of a spot. I mean, I have nothing against the guy, but we've already got Cynthia doing it, and otherwise they've been champions or people claim to be champion level. Flint just feels like a bit of a, I'm trying to think polite way to say it, but he feels a bit like an also-ran that they threw in to be fodder and also, Sinnoh promotion. I feel he's undeserving of the spot would probably be how I'd say it. There's so many others I think would be better candidates. Like one right off the bat that I feel they have really slept on is Peony. He used to be the champion of Gala before Leon. He uses all sorts. He has, Gmax Pokemon. I think he would have been an absolutely brilliant Masters 8 choice.
Yeah, considering they haven't really used him at all, and we only have a consolidated amount in the DLC for his information, so it could be a great lore dump for him if they would have used him.
Exactly. And I mean, you could do a whole thing about him being Leon's predecessor and, almost as strong as Leon, and really build him up as, a force to be reckoned with. Because, I mean, I hate to say it, but is there any doubt that Ash will beat Flint if it comes to a battle between them?
No, not at this point.
No.
Yeah, if we're talking like Sinnoh Ash using his Sinnoh team, then yeah, it would be believable, like when he lost at the Sunny Shore gym. But nowadays, it's not believable. I don't conceive, even in the games, you don't really think as Flint as like a threat. It's like he's the third member of the Elite Four, but like realistically, Bertha could be ahead of him.
Yeah,
That's true.
he also lost to Cynthia like 3-0, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just I was upset when that was revealed, and there was so many other people. I could think of Elite Four members that are stronger than him that I would rather have in that place. Like just for instance, Drake from Hoenn. Like I feel like
Yeah.
Drake would be a far better candidate than him.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, another one you could probably do is Brandon, just because if you want to show Paul's growth, him ranking higher would also be pretty cool.
Plus,
Yeah, I would like that. I would like that a lot. They seem to be sticking away from the Battle Frontier though. Any Battle Frontier trainers, which is disappointing.
it is. I mean, and imagine because they've got those 2 new Reggies. Imagine like what better promotion than Brandon having a team of all 6 Reggies. Just
Like, yeah, he's definitely champion level in my opinion, honestly. Like he could easily take the top 8. So
I
Yeah,
agree.
even when Ash beat him, he did not use like all 3 of his Regis at the same time like he did against Paul.
yeah. And I think that was just done more so along the lines to move the plot along because they needed to get to the Diamond and Pearl era. So, and rather than just say, well, you got to reface the 2 you couldn't beat before, they're just, oh, well, I got the new one, and we'll just let your little electric mouse, volt tackle it to death.
Yeah,
So,
but
Speaking
still, I
of
mean,
Volt Tackle, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, still, I think Brandon holds the record for being Ash's toughest, gym leader, frontier brain, whatever term you wish to use, like excluding rivals. Like, I think Brandon still takes the cake for being the one that Ash struggled the most with and,
oh yeah,
had the most losses.
I'll agree with that 100%. I would like to see a battle between him and Leon.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, it would really solidify Leon as the champion of champions that they're trying to bill him as.
That's true.
So,
I mean, because I mean, he's beaten us. Like, trying to think, what's the toughest thing we've seen him actually beat? Like Lance's Gyarados, Flint's Infernape. Those are good Pokemon, but if we see him take out a literal legend, that would definitely do wonders for his status as the best in the world.
yeah, and you think about it, like Leon's Charizard versus like Alon's Charizard or Ash's Charizard. The only one that's actually been billed as taking out a legendary is Ash's Charizard itself with his battle with
Alon too. I guess that's another one that really hasn't been touched.
Yeah.
Did he win the league? Did he win did he beat Diantha?
I don't think it was ever covered. I think that he went on some sort of voyage of self-discovery after Team Flare, so maybe he never, booked in for that battle.
Well, you got to remember the anime too is kind of wishy-washy on the subject of what happens after the Victory Road tournament. There's never really been a definitive like, oh, you have to challenge the Elite Four. It's, well, you're the champion of the tournament, but what happens then? And then they go on to the next season.
That's true.
So there's never been a definitive. So like, let's just pull out the elephant in the room. Tobias, for instance.
Yes.
Okay. Tobias theoretically should have gone on to battle Cynthia. And I mean, if he's packing a full team of legendaries, I think Cynthia's good, but it may be difficult for her to stand up to that. And they should make some mention to that, but I haven't really seen anything from him. So
that is true.
So like it's not really solidified in stone in the anime what they actually have to do after the Elite Four tournament or the Victory Road tournament. So that's definitely something, and I don't think they're going to touch on it either because now their whole focus is the World Coronation, so they wouldn't really solidify what the Elite Four challenge is because it's something that they've never really touched on.
That's right, and I mean now that Ash can just face Elite Four members in the World Coronation series just as matches, they don't really have a need for anything like that anymore.
Yeah, it fixes a problem, but it also basically ignores a previous problem, which is, I guess, a double-edged sword. So, yeah.
What are your thoughts on the power scaling between the Elite Four members? Because I remember watching yours. I'm speaking to Ronin. I remember watching your series, which was What If Ash won the Indigo League, and if I'm not mistaken, like all the Elite Four battles were like close, right?
Yeah,
Like
they were
they were
close.
down. Yeah, they were down to last Pokemon, down to the last Pokemon. But in the Sinnoh region, I think the difference between the level of the Elite Four member and the champion is pretty evident because you see like Cynthia absolutely stomping through all the Elite Four members she has faced. So do you think it's a case that the members of the Sinnoh Elite Four are weak, or that Cynthia is just that strong?
I'd,
I th- Go ahead, Pickle.
so I was
Yeah.
going to say, I'd probably towards Cynthia being that strong. Like, I feel it was honestly a missed opportunity to not make her world number 2.
Yeah.
She's.
I was just about to say, I don't think it's one of those cases where two things are true at once. I think Cynthia is strong, and because you have a strong champion, you have a strong Elite Four who can. Because that was another thing that Ronan brought up in one of his stories was that Cynthia gets challengers between the league seasons. Like she isn't just getting them when the actual league takes place. So I mean, you have a more competitive champion as well.
Yep, that's one of the things that was very glossed over in the series, and they didn't really give it a lot of focus. And that's one of the things I noticed when I was doing the rewrite for that episode, and I had even forgot about it up until I started rewatching the episodes to do the rewrite, and I was like, man, she really was like really active during this era. That she's more than any other champion in any other region. She has just been there. She's popping up like every third or fourth episode, and she's doing something. Even if it's not just battling, she's involved somehow.
Yeah.
So, and that was like the big thing for me.
Yeah, she's probably the model on which other champions, should aspire to be modeled. Though admittedly, maybe this is a low blow, but I think the majority of the Sinnoh Elite Four are good. Then there's Aaron, he's a bit like a glorified gym leader.
Yeah.
I think he could be very easily replaced by many others.
I was being honest. If I could go back and redesign the games, I would put Aaron as the final gym leader and put Wagner as the first one.
I was just thinking that Wagner would make a much stronger Elite Four member than Aaron.
Yeah.
Especially since him and Flynn are friends.
Yeah, it would make more sense. It would make more sense. And I feel like Wagner was he was a better threat as a type specialist. So, and it would go good with the duality of what they have in the Elite Four, because usually the next member of the Elite Four is weak to their previous member. So like in case in point, like Flint is a fire-based trainer, so Bertha is a stronger type specialist, but Flint is still billed as third, so that means he's supposedly stronger than Bertha. Yeah.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? So you can go that route as well. But yeah, Aaron, I don't know. I don't think bug types are threatening, if I'm being honest.
Which is sad because they overtly should be.
They really should be, but they don't come off as threatening.
I think this might be another conversation topic that might take us off track, Dino. So if it does, I'm sorry. I think that's also another reason why people are very anti for a sound type.
Yeah, a newer type in the games. Yeah,
because bugs are like actually deaf by the vast majority of them. So it will be something that the bug type could either resist or be completely immune to, and that would give them a whole new niche on teams.
Yeah, it would give them a power scaling as well. It's like when you introduce fairy types in Gen 6, poison types all of a sudden got this huge buff just because of a new typing being introduced. So, yeah, that would definitely be something that could potentially be down the road. But
it would give us a lot of cool what's it called? New mons that can be
Yeah, a lot of cool new mons, but also it would upgrade a lot of older mons.
Yeah,
Maybe
that
something.
too.
Yeah, something. It's kind of like when Clefable got converted to fairy because of
Because we would change XBlow to probably pure sound.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think the one I'm probably the biggest advocate for is that Noivern should probably be Sound Dragon or our first Sound Dragon because we don't need any more Dragon flying.
That is true. I am so tired of dragon being combined with flying. We get it. They fly. That doesn't mean they have to have the flying type. It
Yeah, I
doesn't.
mean, once you made Rayquaza, you kind of hit the apex of that. You had already had a pseudo who had it. You put another Altari in who has it and isn't a pseudo. So at that point, it feels like we've covered it pretty well.
I think
Yeah.
that's their way of balancing out that the dragon typing has less weakness by constantly giving the dragon typing some quadruple weakness, like they did with Garchomp, Flygon. They do the same with Dragonite, and a lot of others give them a typing which is quadruple weak. Okay,
I would be a
this
fan of just a typing that doesn't give them a quad weak, but it gives them a dual weakness. So like Hydreigon's a perfect example. Because it's dark, it has the fighting weakness. So I think that would be a perfect way to balance out a lot of dragons. If you give them a dual typing that allows them to have an additional weakness.
Hydreigon might have been one they were thinking of when they made Fairy because now it's got a quad.
Yeah.
That does bring up one other thing that is very interesting to me, and it's that I actually don't think there's anything wrong with quad weaknesses. And I know you guys aren't saying there is, but my thing with them is, or just a dual typed mon having a weakness that you'll likely see a lot. Like I know a lot of people didn't like Hisuian, Growlithe, and Arcanine. I love them personally just because you're going to run into a water type. It does not matter. They are the most abundant. Water is in and of itself is the most abundant substance on the earth. So you're going to run into a water type. You don't have a choice.
Yep.
But it also brings to bear that a trainer who has a lot of quad weak Pokemon has to take a lot of care in how they built their team. And to me, that speaks to better skill than just, well, I have a team of pure types because it's easier for me to kind of balance out. Or I have a team of Mons that don't really have a lot of weaknesses in general because it's easier for me to balance out.
Yeah, that's highly agreeable. Like I think let's go back to the point of Flint and his team. If he had that aspect on his team built in a little bit more, I think it'd be more believable as a stronger trainer.
Absolutely. I mean, he does kind of fall into that, Elite Four trap where, like 2/3 of his team, if you've got one Pokemon, you can just sweep him.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the Great Elite Four members have at least, one good coverage mon.
Yeah, or a coverage move at least on them to counteract their worst typing. So, and it just they really dropped the ball with him.
Speaking on teams and typing, I may have a way to like fix or just present a different narrative, different perspective on team building. How about if instead of typing, the Elite Four members and the gym leaders focused on egg groups?
That's interesting. Doing so, like you'd have the monster-like one and the field.
Fairy.
Well, I think even beyond that, Pokemon does need to level up from the, hey, this gym or this next battle is going to be primarily this type. Have something to counter it and you'll win. Because we've been beyond that for so long. I mean, people have known how to like EV train and stuff. And like it's so much you can do to, even if you do have to go fight Brock with Charmander, you can still beat that fight just because, I mean, I can play it well enough. So I think what needs to happen more so than just like, oh, let's use egg groups or start using themes that work a little bit. But like this is something I know I've talked to Dill a lot about because I'll help him sometimes with team building because I think I'm decently good at that.
Yeah, you're quite good. You're really helpful with that. I appreciate your help in that.
No problem. I appreciate the plug. But what ends up happening is I try to, based off the story, make a team that kind of thematically fits rather than, well, this person who maybe has influence on the character here has this Pokemon, so I also want them to have this Pokemon. Like, there's one story I worked on where the character is raised by a really famous character, but instead of just giving them, one-to-one comparisons, I mix and match some of the types. So where this person has a fighting steel type, which is obviously Lucario, I gave a different steel type and a different fighting type. But fighting and steel are both still represented.
Yeah.
Stuff like
basically
that.
dividing it out, but making it different, but still the same.
Yeah, or like I know one of the famous ones is make a dog trainer Pokemon. Make someone with Lycanroc and Arcanine and Magnetric, and you'll get a lot of coverage. Or Houndoom still. You'll get coverage. It'll take more than just, well, I want him to be a fire type trainer, so he'll just have fire types.
Yeah, like in one of my stories, I've got a character who is quite withdrawn, so I've had him sort of gravitate a bit towards turtle Pokemon, just, so that becomes, part of his theme. And so just having that as like a bit of a character trait, I think that's quite interesting in building it. So, like, for example, take Roxy, how her whole thing is rock and roll. If instead of being a poison specialist, she, had Pokemon that exemplified elements of the rock lifestyle, that would make for a much
your
more challenging
Obstagoons,
gym.
your Toxtricities, your Exploud, stuff like that.
Exactly. That would make for a really interesting gym leader. So you're like, I don't immediately just know, if I stick a grass type at the front, I win. Not for Roxy. I was thinking Misty for some reason, but either way, yes, a grass type, that would be a bad choice. But either way, it's like it's good to have a theme, I think, instead of if I stick X type at front of party, I win.
I will say though, if we're going into that territory, we're kind of treading the battle frontier territory with the frontier brains, because they weren't type specialists. They were just really strong trainers. So like, and you go back to the anime and you look at some of the battles, like when you're talking about the battle
Lucy?
between
Lucy
was who I thinking. Yeah, Lucy is who I was thinking of. It was a Seviper and Milotic. So Ash had to overcome both of those.
And in some of the games, she had Steelix too.
Yeah. So that's what I'm. You're really treading battle frontier territory, and I think that type of aspect would be really good in a game if you had theme specialists instead of a type specialist. That would be a really it'd be different, and to have it in a gym challenge would be it could be the next thing, the next evolution of the gym challenge, because one of the things they did in Gen 8 was they took away the Elite Four out of their gym challenge because all of their gym leaders are supposedly as strong as Elite Four members. So, I mean, that's definitely a different take on the gym challenge. It may or may not have been the right one. It really depends on how you feel about it. I will say I'm a fan of the tournament style at the end to get to battle Leon. But it's still it really comes down to your personal preference. I would even go as say as I would like to have gym leaders that can change up their mons. Like, there is let's just say it's the first gym. Most first gym leaders have 2 to 3 Pokemon, but the AI of the computer can choose between 6 different ones to use.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'd love is if they drew a bit from Origins, where since they're saying with Scarlet and Violet it's going to be fairly open world, so I'd love if you could challenge
choose the route. That'd be a big thing too.
And so then basically you get this gym leader's team in accordance with how many badges you have. So they've got, 8 different teams. I think that would give a lot of, replayability if you're like, okay, I took down this gym leader super easy, but that's because they were only my first. I'd love to see what their team would be like if they were my 8th gym leader.
Yeah, that would lead me back to, I always have this thought, what if Pokemon, you guys ever read Goosebumps when you were a kid?
Yeah,
The
yeah, I
Goosebumps
did.
books. Do you
I
remember
saw the television show. I don't think I got hit with the R.L. Stein wave like some of you guys might have.
Yeah, so when I was a kid, the series had a series of books that were basically choose your next chapter, and
Yes,
it'd tell
I
you to
owned a few
change.
of them.
Yeah, it would tell you to, okay, so you want to go this route, turn to page 56. You want to go to this route, turn to page 84, and it would have a different scenario for each route, and that would be really good. Like along the lines of thinking of if you choose your gym leader, like because you chose your gym leader, you have a different scenario that's going to play out. And obviously, there's problems with like choosing with programming and memory space and stuff like that. But it's definitely something that would keep the games interesting because the replayability on those things would be through the roof.
I mean,
So
like an example that could be really interesting, a bit dark, but could be like really neat and add some story component is, let's use Jasmine and her Ampharos as an example. If you pick her within the first 4 gyms, she has the Ampharos on her team. If you pick her between, gym 5 or 6, she sends you on the quest to get the medicine, and she doesn't have Ampharos on the team, but she's, like still got it. And then if you pick her as 7 or 8, maybe she's a bit more dour, a bit more in mourning. And it's like, well, gee, I wish someone could have gone to Cianwood and got some medicine for my Ampharos. Just little tiny story details there would have been, like give it a lot more replayability and make the world feel more lived in, almost some choice.
that's definitely.
I keep introducing either new topics or not talking enough, I think. But I think another thing that we could talk about for just general improvements this series could make, a difficulty setting would go a super long way.
Yeah, because
You mean
an actual-
Bloodborne 2
Nuzlocke?
had that.
Say again?
Do you mean like a Nuzlocke? In some ROM hacks, there is an option for setting the difficulty level to easy, medium,
I mean,
or
not
hard.
just a Nuzlocke, but like a true difficulty setting. Like, hey, is this your first Pokemon game? Click yes. Hey, is this your, third or fourth time? Are you an expert?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Because you're already sitting there asking us tons of questions. Make them more worthwhile. Or like this isn't even a thing about like actual gameplay so much, but it is something I'm kind of passionate about. Customization in Pokemon does not go far enough.
No,
like
not at all.
by any way, shape, or form. I know like the biggest example that we've had as of recently was ORAS not giving the opportunity to change the player character. I mean, even after that, like with new games, we still don't get enough customization options. Like I can't change my height, I can't change my age. And I mean, a majority of people who's playing these games aren't kids anymore. I can't really relate as well because I've got this, and especially with the new ones about to come out where it looks like the player characters are going to be like actual school kids.
Yeah.
It's really hard to relate. And that's one thing. There's so much this series could do to kind of grow up. And I've seen that they are trying to kind of start doing it with Legends Arceus for one. It feels like they're trying to look at some of the things they could be doing differently.
Yeah. I would say Nintendo and Game Freak in general is at a critical point where they're starting to realize that if they don't start to slowly evolve, they're going to start losing. Let's be honest, okay? The player base that they're targeting and the player base that's buying are two different ones. The ones with the money are not the ones that they're targeting. So they need the ones with the money to still stay involved.
That's true.
That's just what it comes down to.
I think there's some sign of that. Like, you remember last year's Metroid Dread. I don't know whether any of you played that, but that definitely felt more like a game that was designed for an audience that, grew up with the more simple Metroids, and now it's going, okay, here's, a Metroid horror game for you. So there may be hope yet. Even Legends Arceus has, a bit of a, more somber plot. You just go, maybe there is hope for them yet.
Yeah, they're definitely moving slowly, for sure.
What do you guys think of the other side games that they have? For example, of course, we're all familiar with Pokemon Go, and there is Pokemon Unite now. So have you guys played those games, and what are your thoughts on them?
I've played Go, I've played Unite, I've played Snap, Mystery Dungeon, Ranger. I've played most of the spin-offs and side games. You know, you know, I find that the more modern ones like Unite and Go, I picked them up early on, but they didn't really hold my attention. But ones like Snap or the remake of Mystery Dungeon, I found much more enjoyable. I don't know, maybe that's a nostalgia thing, maybe that's that they have stories, maybe it's just mobile isn't really my platform. Yeah, that's probably my sort of thinking where it's like, the ones that release on Switch, that have like a single player campaign, I'm probably more inclined towards.
Yeah, I want to experience the story myself, so I can feel you on that one. It's definitely I have a Pokemon Go account. I open it once like every 3 months, just to check the egg and see if it's hatched. Open the gifts, resend them, and then close it back out. So one of the things I really wish they would do is I really wish they would give some updated versions of side games that are technically in canon regions for like the game. So like XD Gale of Darkness, the Aura region, stuff like that. Those regions are in canon because you can trade between main series games and those games. So I would like to see updated versions of those with newer storylines, maybe a continuation. It's been 15 years. And the Aura region has begun to prosper, and now it has Pokemon in it, and there's a gym challenge and stuff like that, that type of deal.
That would be great, and I mean like an updated Ranger game as well, because I feel like you could do something with the Joy-Con there,
Yeah,
even draw on Go, like Let's Go and just kind of spin it.
yeah, I would. I actually liked playing the Ranger games. I got a little bit late on some of the other ones, but I eventually played through them all. But I enjoyed them myself. So
Me too. I like the Ranger games. They're good.
yeah, they had story. That was the biggest thing. So that's part of the reason why I play Pokemon, because I want to know what the story is. I don't even care if it's the same Pokemon that I've played with 100 times. If it's told in a different way, that's what I'm on board with.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So. Ooh.
So shall we get into the questions?
Sure.
Oh, I
I'm
didn't
on
know
board.
we had any.
I've got a few. I think I've only got two. How many have you guys got?
I got 4 on my Discord server. Looks like.
I probably should have asked my
my
community
that would
for
have
some.
helped a lot.
I apologize.
It's good.
Yeah, it's all
Actually,
good.
I'll have my own questions. Don't worry about it. Right? I'm a smart guy.
Okay.
I've got more than two now, which is nice. Good.
Yeah, I got 4 on the Discord server that people wanted to ask.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got 2 on the community tab.
Yes, I got 6 on the community tab. So together we've got some decent questions, plus our good friend plus Ultraman. You say you've got some questions for us too. So
I can definitely come up with some pretty easy.
maybe it'd also be good if we each also have at least one question for each other. That could be fun. Okie doke. So who wants to go through their questions first?
Let's see the Discord questions first. I'm sure they will be interesting.
Okay. Then I guess I'll just lead off and I'll do the Discord questions and I'll just ask all my questions.
Yeah.
All right then. So the first Discord question we had here was from Hasbrav. What's the meaning of life?
42.
It is what you make of it.
I would agree.
I'm not even joking. Like that is the best answer to that question humanity has ever come up with. It is 100% what you make of it.
Yep, I would agree on plus on that one because your life is only as good as you want it to be.
Yeah,
so
make that 3. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Next question is we have from Albert. How long does it take for you to really plan out a what if? Do you wait to plan out the whole thing or do it as you go with the flow? What are some inspirations for you?
So for me, I plan out, the vague skeleton before I start. I make sure I have an ending. That's a big thing, and I plan out the crucial moments, particularly things for arcs, and that's how I do it. But then for the the minutiae, the like more connective tissue, I kind of let that come naturally, depending on what I've already planned out and what I've been working on last, so I don't wind up repeating things. So that's probably my answer.
I would say it's similar to mine. I do a lot of my writing on because I'm usually at work when I'm doing it. So it's usually on the fly, and I'll have ideas that I'll put down, and then it's just a giant list of things that I've compiled, and then I take the list and I put them in order until I have a script. That would be the easiest way to put it. But I usually have an end goal in mind for what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, I do something pretty similar. Whenever I begin a story, I have a visual of how it would end. So it basically makes it a lot easier to bridge the gap between the 2 points instead of like going with the flow. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I believe that makes the job a bit more easier, and I try to emphasize more on defining moments. For example, a particular battle uh, which signifies the rise and fall of someone of a trainer, or just signifies what it means to the trainer at that point in his journey.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes sense. What about you, Plus?
So, I think I am simultaneously a really good example of some of what you guys are talking about and a really bad example of some of what you guys are talking about. One thing I can say about myself is that I usually also go the route of, well, I know how I want this to end, or at least I know a major plot point that I want to see in the ending. I think one thing I have always had issue with is I have a really good eye or just mind for spectacle. I can come up with spectacle really, really easily. Substance to spectacle, though, that is something that I can struggle with a lot, which is also, I'll mention, is a good part as to why I'm really good at spotting bad what ifs. Not just because, there's not going to be enough spectacle, because I can tell when you're just doing this for the spectacle, and once that wears off, you won't really have any substance. My process is usually look at the idea first, consider all avenues of the idea, what's first and foremost most interesting to you, and then after that, start thinking of, okay, well, how could this be implemented in different ways? Are there different ways of this, or looking at this idea that I'm not thinking of? Do I need to walk away from it for a little bit? All that stuff, which ends up kind of making you hesitate probably more than you should, but sometimes that hesitation is really good for a storyline. I think what ends up making me take so long on a lot of my stories, because if you actually look at it, the majority of my stuff has been ongoing since
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years almost, like a really high amount of the stuff.
Yeah.
And that is mostly because a lot of it I'm just so, what would it be called? I'm just so indecisive what I want to do sometimes.
Yeah, it's that what if I go this route? How could it turn out? And if I go this route, what is going to turn out? Which way is more satisfying to you? I understand what you're saying on that aspect. I could tell just by working with you in general and like how we talk about things. It's made me as a better writer in just an aspect, just from bouncing ideas back and forth from you and seeing how you write your scripts and seeing how you go back and you change things, because I've watched some of your actual script writings in when you're putting them together and stuff like that, and it's definitely interesting watching your process, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I had very much the same thoughts. I think you've definitely been a big help for me in that as well. So that's, yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a sec.
No, you're fine.
So
Same here. I'll be honest, when you pitched me the idea of Lieutenant Surge sponsoring Ash, I wasn't like, at the moment, I wasn't really high on the idea, but when you like explained the whole parameters of the strong bulky Pokemon having Surge as like a genuine good guy instead of how they portray him to be in the anime and the adventure mangas, that was the point where I was like, yeah, this is something that I want to do. And now for the entire April month, I will be focusing on that story only. So that should tell you how much fun it is for me to make that story.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's definitely I'm interested in seeing what comes out of that one. So we'll definitely
it's a
have
good
to wait.
story.
All right, so I got one more question from Discord here from Mystic Gamer 23, and it's what is your favorite region?
Okay, for me, it would have to be the Johto region, with Hoenn being a very close second. I don't really have any way to justify it logically. It's more just when I think, what do I like? Which region, appeals to me? My mind immediately goes to Johto.
Yeah, it's the same for me.
Johto for you, trainer? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Plus?
For me, it may be Hoenn just because it was my first region I got to play on my own. Unova would be a better choice if it was more than just the upper northeast of the United States.
Yeah.
Like if there was a region I could relate to a lot more, that'd be hype. That'd be super, super cool.
Yeah. I can understand that. I can tell you mine's very dependent on the subject that we're talking about for the region. So if we're talking about the playability of the just a specific region, we're not talking about like post game content or anything like that. We're just talking about the specific region in games. My favorite region for playability of the game itself is Unova. I don't know what it is about that generation, but just the playability, whether it's black and white or black and white too, I really like the flow of the region itself. But as far as Pokemon are concerned, I have a really, really fond aesthetic to the Pokemon of Hoenn. I don't know what it is about the Pokemon of that region, but I feel like a lot of them are very well designed and they just fit the aesthetic of the region. And they fit the aesthetic of that region better than most other regions that have had their Pokemon added on. So, like I said, it really comes down to the subject for me.
Okay.
So that were all the questions from the Discord?
Yeah, for my Discord.
Okay. Pickle, do you want to go next?
Sure. Okay, so I've got 6 questions from my community tab. Actually, it seems I have 5. Strange. It says 6. Anyway, first question from Adrian Carr is, are there any big what ifs you and the others have planned? And if so, can we get a hint?
Go ahead, Ronin.
I don't have any specific what ifs planned as far as collabs with people. I do have projects that I've reached out with, like Pickle Dill. Me and him have been talking in the background about a project that is going to be a massive undertaking on my part, and he's really been he's been instrumental in a lot of the information for me to build this project. So thank you for that.
Happy to help.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting once I actually start getting the bones laid out, and I'm going to be really excited to share it with you so we can get more things rolling on that. I also have another big project that I'm working on. This is a what if, and I've reached out to Ranger Riot, the Ranger base, to help construct some of the stuff with it. He's been busy in his own personal life, so that one might take a little bit longer, but I'm helping him. I'm hoping that he can help me design a custom Pokédex and some things for a very particular region that we're working on. It is a region in the Pokemon universe, a what if that I'm looking to build for Ash in the future, but that's a ways down the road. Yeah, that's all I got right now. So
Okay.
Ultraman.
Right now my main focus is just on trying to get as many of the stories that I'm currently doing done, because there's just so much to do. I do have one collab that's just already kind of in the works right now, but there's just not much on it to say at the moment. And then I have some other stuff I'm probably going to end up doing this year if I get the chance to.
Dino, how about you?
I will most probably focus on bringing out the season 2 of the Dragon Clan story once the 1K subscriber goal is reached, because I think that's something that a lot of people look forward to. Judging by the comments ever since like the season ended, in every video, whether or not it's related to the Dragon Clan in any way, shape, or form, there is a comment asking when the next season will come. So I'm saving that season for 1K subscriber special.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yeah, it
forward to
seems-
that next season.
yeah, it seems to be one of the more popular ones in your channel. So
Yeah.
definitely something you want to use to push building up your channel.
Yeah.
So, all right, what else you got, Pickle?
Okie doke. Next question. Would any of you make What If Ash Was a Frontier Brain? I ask because it has never been made before by anyone. That is from Pat627 Gone 692. I mean, I'm kind of doing that with, What If Ash Was Brandon's son already? I mean,
Yeah, you're already well into that territory. So
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, he's not a frontier brain yet, but
that seems like it'd be the logical destination at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like I won't go into specific spoiler details, but I feel like it's, pretty much a lock that will be Ash's ultimate goal.
I mean, considering his father is the strongest of the brains, I would think so.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, but it's not about the destination; it's about the journey.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
It's a fun journey.
Yeah. So I would say I have that topic on my what if wheel when I spin it, so it could potentially happen. I mean, my own variation of it.
That'd be interesting. How about you, Plus?
If I would ever do that, I'm not sure I have the interest in the storyline to do it myself. But
I would say on Plus Ultraman, you're because your channel's so variety between different mangas and different just subjects, you that would be something you probably shy away from because you cover Naruto, Dragon Ball, and other things. So
yeah, that's the other thing. I already have so much on the plate, and I already have so many unfinished stories at the moment that
so that might be a little
for
bit outside
me
your
just
range.
now. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to continue to pick up too much more stuff that's going to be super ongoing. Like even with GSA, I was only because me and Ronan ended up talking about the idea and getting just so into it. I think we decided to hop on it then and there, because otherwise we probably would have just started scripting it out and then maybe done so later. But I think we just enjoyed it that much.
Even so, it still took us like 3 months of just back and forth before we even got to the first finished product of that first episode. I think so. Yeah, it was. What was it? It had to have been. We started talking in May or June of last year, and then we didn't have the first episode out until September, I think.
Yeah.
No, the first episode came out on my birthday. That was August 6th.
August. Okay, so yeah, it was about 3 months. It was in May or June when we started.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was. It's just
it feels like we just hopped right into it.
Yeah, it was actually 3 months worth of planning because I was just barely getting into things and I was getting to know you and we were having back and forths and I had no idea what I was doing at the time. So it was like it was a huge learning curve for me on my end to get into that. And then there was also just the whole summertime deal, and then I had a vacation at that point last year, so we had a lot of things going on. And it was a lot of background stuff that was like it was just secondary work that eventually just got all compiled into the first episode. So yeah, so it was But it was fun. That first, I remember the first day you reached out to me on that. That was that day was just, I was just like in awe, because I was like, holy crap, I attract the attention of somebody with that much of a following. I must be doing something right.
You're doing something right.
Yeah. So that day right there, I knew that I might actually have a shot at doing something on YouTube. So yeah. So all right, what else we got? What's your next question, Pickle?
Next question. What is your process making what ifs filled with quality like a jelly-filled donut from Penguin Pal? That's nice, saying we're like jelly-filled donuts. So, I mean, I suppose we've kind of already answered that in the sense that, we've done that. So I might take a little artistic liberty with this question and shake it up a bit and go, what is your process in choosing an idea? As in, what is your guys' process in deciding what ideas you'll pursue and which ones you'll maybe save or discard?
I'd say my biggest thing is I want something that's interesting, and it's not.
I hate an idea that's a one-trick pony.
Yeah, I want something that wouldn't be off the wall. A prime example on my channel is like, yeah, you could say like the most popular ones on my channel are What If Ash won the Sinnoh League, but those are more along the lines of like, people always wanted that to happen. Every time Ash goes to a new region, they want him to win the region. So like that's obviously going to draw attention, but that's not off the wall. Like the most off the wall one I've had that I've done is the What If Jesse and James took the gym challenge.
Yeah.
That was my first of your series. That was the one that actually drew me into your channel.
Yeah. And I remember truth be told, I was actually thinking about doing What If Ash won the Hoenn League before the Sinnoh League, but then they announced the BDSP remakes, and I was watching the episodes, and I was like, well, I want to do something with this. And that's when I got the idea of like, wait, Jesse's talking about she wants to do something different. Like, okay, let's do something different with it. And that's what really got me like enthralled in that idea. I will admittedly though, towards the end, I kind of lost interest in it because I had other things going on, other projects that I wanted to pursue. And I kind of regret that at this point, but it was still fun starting that idea. And another one is like, what if Ash and Paul travel to Unova together? Because you have that duality of those characters who were at each other's throats for so long in Sinnoh, and now you have them actually traveling together in a region. It creates an interesting dynamic in my eyes.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
Let's see. Yep. Plus, how about you?
Oh, was I the last person to answer?
I think so. I mean, unless Dino, you want to go first?
Oh, sorry. What was the question? I was like invested in what he was saying about the Jesse and James thing.
All good. Basically, how do you choose which ideas you're actually going to make into what ifs?
What interests you the most, basically?
Oh, okay.
The topics.
So, yeah. So that would be basically where, I mean, it's at the point where I was like forced to use Ash as the main character because I made What If Red joined Team Rocket, right? And that didn't really pull in any views. So I even considered switching that to What If Ash joined Team Rocket. But my main problem with making Ash the main character in every single one of my stories is that I have to do something to make him different from like Ash in general. I think I asked Ronin the same question when he appeared on the first episode of my podcast, like what's the difference between the Ash that is born in Unova and Ash that is born in Kalos. So when I pick a topic, I try to make it like the Ash of that particular topic is like no Ash of any other topics.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing when you're doing stuff like that. You want to do what you can to differentiate them. Personality traits, changing just small personality traits of the characters is one thing. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like you're changing the character. If they already have that personality trait, you're just making it more dominant than other personality traits. Yeah. So
makes sense. And how about you, Plus Ultraman? How do you
I think for me, I have to be able to think of at least one idea that makes me genuinely excited. Not just that'll be cool, but like actually excited. Something that makes me say, no. That has to happen. I have to do this. I don't have a choice at this point anymore. If I don't get that, I'm probably not going to move on it. That's just how I work. A lot of stories you can probably see that. Well, you can't see them in yet because a lot of them they're the end game of that story. I know a really good example of it, and some people here probably heard me get excited and probably talking to me DMs and like saw little spoilers about it. Definitely the Piccolo story. That one, I've had its end game in mind for a good long while. So it really helped me to kind of make decisions on what I was going to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, for me, it's, often I look at, things that I'm like are either big missed opportunities or, taking something from, like something I like and then either shifting it into the spotlight or shifting it a bit to the side. Like, I mean, prime examples me would be going, like going with the Ash Paul story and saying, well, they have such a clear duality, as you said, Ronan. What happens if, you actually, put them much closer in contact? How would they rub off on each other from a lifetime rather than a chance encounter?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And my last question is one that we've already answered as well. So it's from Cringy Guy. I'll read it out, but we've already answered it. So we'll probably move on to the next question, which is, will you guys make a collab? I mean, GSA, that's an ongoing collab, a damn good one.
Basically, the Surge story is a collab between me, Pickle Dylan, plus Ultraman. So.
Oh, is that what the question is asking? Because I didn't know if you guys had told anybody else that I was going to be on this.
It was non-specific. It was just, will you guys make a collab? I mean, there's the thing that I'm helping Ronan with at the moment. That's a collab as well. So lots of collab potential.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the backgrounds that a lot of people you're gonna have to wait to see, but I promise you it's gonna be worth it. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Can't wait for any of his collabs to come out. I think they're some of the things I'm most excited for in the channel. Not just mine, but all of ours.
Yeah, we got a lot of potential. A lot of things in the works. So but yeah, I think that was I already answered pretty much early on. That was one of my questions. I think that was answered with that. So
let's not give away any spoilers.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question that I have like two questions. It won't take long. It's actually from Cringy Guy. So we are picking up where we left off. How do you come up with lots of ideas? I don't know how to answer that.
For me, I suppose, I'm always coming up with ideas. It's kind of, to a fault where I love starting things. It's finishing them that I struggle with.
It's finishing that we had trouble with.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's most of humanity, though. That's not just you. So.
Exactly. So I'm always going, what if I start this thing? What if I had this thing? And that's why early on in my channel, before I realized the challenge of spinning multiple plates, that every time I had a new idea, I ran with it, like if I thought it was good. But yeah, so I think, for me, I'm just always coming up with ideas. I've got a few in the back catalog that I'll probably start cycling in as some of these other stories finish. Yeah, that's, I suppose, long-winded way of saying I can't stop. Help.
I think we all have that problem. I'll tell you, I had that problem early on last year when I started my channel. It was just like throwing darts at a board, trying to see what would stick, what would capture people's interest. And after starting working with Plus, I started to slow down and just focus on the stories that I really started to enjoy. and that's what caused me to get on this track of just trying to slow down a little bit and throw stuff out there, throw ideas out there with the what if wheel once a week that I was doing, but not focusing on them, really focus on the individual stories. But I have a whole list of things that I've compiled over the last 3 or 4 years before I'd even started the channel, thing of topics and ideas. And it's just, what are you feeling at this moment? What scene, that type of deal.
Yeah, that's another thing. Sometimes you really do have to just write what you're in the mood to write, not what you feel like you have to write.
Yeah. So that's definitely a big thing. All right, what's your other question there, buddy?
Yeah. So the second question is from Adrian Kerr. It's what got all of you into doing Pokemon What If? Okay, I'll go first in this one if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's different because if you specifically say Pokemon What If, it would have to be Ronin and Enter the Unknown, because before that I didn't know that someone would make Pokemon What If. Even those Proto Mario I think did. But in What If in general, I think it would have to be the OG Dragon Ball What If YouTubers like Ultraman, Karthu, Saladsian, Smugstick, Masako X, and there was a guy named Broku72. He made a What If called What If
Excuse
Future.
me. Sorry to interrupt. I actually have a collab with Broku coming out at some point this year too.
Awesome.
That's
awesome.
Right. Yeah, right. That's something that I needed to hear, because when I rewatched Dragon Ball Z, it was back in 2018, because I moved to a new city. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was most of the time I was just sitting in my apartment. So that's where I decided that I would rewatch some of the old childhood animes. So I started watching Dragon Ball Z, right? And then I came across the History of Trunks episode where Future Gohan ended up dying. And that was so heartbreaking to me. I just went to YouTube and I randomly searched that what if Future Gohan survived. And then I get a video of Broku72 with 1.1 million views in it of what if Future Gohan survived. I was like, what the hell is this? And then I started watching and I was like, this is basically storytelling with a little bit of editing. So that was basically something that I thought I could do in the near future. And it took me a while because I wanted to do it with the Dragon Ball franchise, but for some reason I didn't, because I thought that it required a lot of editing process, and I'm not really good at the editing part. But then I watched Ronin's video on the Pokemon What If, and I saw that it's just basic storytelling. It's not super hi-fi stuff. It's just him picking up a topic and adding his own flavor into it and telling it as a story. So that's how I started making What If.
Yeah, I mean, my story is pretty similar to yours. I watched a bunch of what ifers. I particularly Dragon Ball ones. Some Star Wars ones as well. And I always thought this would be great to do, but I never imagined that I would actually be able to do it, because these people were already established, having 50, 100,000 subscribers. And I'm like, okay, you must already need to be established to break into it, because who wants to listen to just, my opinions on what if Ash did something? But then, seeing Ronan, watching him grow and seeing that it is, someone who can tell a quality story, can make a go of it and can grow, made me go, okay, this is possible. This is something that I can do with something I love. So, Ronan, props to you.
Thanks. I mean, one of my biggest things is like I said last time in our last interview, Dano, a lot of my stuff was I started planning this. I started actually thinking about topic ideas in 2015, 2016. And it was just, man, there's so many things I wish that they would change in certain parts of the anime. And I think it would be better if we did it like this, and maybe people will agree with me and not really sure. And then I remember I was at a Yu-Gi-Oh regional one time in 2018. I was sitting around. We after we were done, we went out to to eat, and I was sitting with a group of my friends, and I was talking to them. I was like, "Hey, you guys, I've really been considering writing stories." And this was like the really early on of what if Ash won the Indigo League. Like this was like the me shooting it around with them, and I started telling them what I had the idea for, and they were like, "Man, that's really interesting. Like you should really start getting into that, like doing it more." And then the 2020 pandemic happened, and all of a sudden I couldn't do Yu-Gi-Oh stuff anymore, and I was looking for something else to do, and it had to be a solo type deal. And then I was like, "Man, I have all these ideas," and I was like, maybe I should try something on YouTube. And that's when I was looking around. I was like, I love Dragon Ball, I love Naruto, I love all these things, but like the markets are so saturated with so many places, it would be hard to break into that market to get somebody to try and get the attention that you would need to try and build a channel. And then it was just like, well, Pokemon has like zero in the what if market. And the only people that were really doing it was Enter the Unknown was the most current one. Yeah. And then Proto Mario had a bunch of like, miniature ones from 5, 6, 7 years ago. But that was it. It's all you got. So I was like, you know what? I think this would be something that's you could get into easily, and nobody's really tapped in it. So it's really a hidden gem. And Pokemon's one of the biggest franchises in the world. So it was really something that you could take advantage of at that time. And I still think we're in the early stages to where people can get in and they can start building their own type of channel based upon this type of content. So, but yeah, that's where I stand on it.
And how about you, Sotro?
So my start is like a whole origin story, which is really funny. I technically began my channel in my sophomore year of high school in 2016. However, after making a small introduction video and stuff like that, I just kind of lost don't want to say the passion, because it was definitely still there, or the idea to do it. And then from there, I just kind of go throughout the rest of high school, and it's getting closer and closer to the point that I'm going to have to decide if I'm going to college or not in a little bit. And up until this point, I really hadn't wanted to go. Like I had no interest in it. So my parents are of the opinion of like, hey, no, you got to go. We ate it for you. You got to go. Even if you end up deciding you don't want to and you want to go straight into the workforce afterwards, you have to at least give us a year. So now I'm like pretty much stuck in the position of I'm going to have to go and spend at least a year in college. I have no interest in it. I don't know what I want to major in. I don't know anything about anything pretty much. And I'm just like in this point where I'm actually like super, super depressed just because I can't figure out what I want to do. So it continues on like that until like the last month before it's time for me to actually come to school. And one day I just wake up and I'm like, I want to try YouTube again. And it wasn't that I wanted to go into what ifs exactly, because I mean I had watched Moscow and Broku, and I liked what ifs, but it wasn't that I was like, I have a talent for what ifs. I know I do. I had to go do that. I had thought of a lot of things. I had thought of becoming a Poketuber, or just like doing general theories, or even just a Nuzlocke, because hey, what happened to him? One of my favorite content creators used to be the King Nappy. He was a really famous Nuzlocke who got caught doing some really bad things. You should not do those things. Yeah,
I remember him.
Yeah,
I remember him.
Yeah, that shit was heartbreaking to me. Just as like a little aside, that was truly heartbreaking to me. But I had a lot of ideas, and I just couldn't decide which. And I think I ended up settling on what ifs after I had been watching some anime just to kind of calm my nerves or something. And I like began to think about the idea more and more and more and more and more. And then finally I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. In fact, the real catalyst might have even been Smugstick, because of his What If Goku Joined Raditz story. I think I've been listening. This is exactly what happened. I was listening to that on my way home from hanging out with a friend one night, and I had just been kind of enthralled with the story. And the ideas of like doing my own version just kind of really to flood into me at that point. And I'm kind of sad that was my first attempt because number one, that first video was just trash in general. I didn't have the skills or the necessary means to make something good. But even beyond that, I really wish I had explored a newer idea to just kind of see what the general interest would have been. I mean, regardless of, we 5 years later, we know what's going on now. But, back then I would have really enjoyed seeing that. But yeah, I get to school. I have a laptop finally that was gifted to me through a scholarship. And now I have an idea of like, okay, I want to start doing this. So right before we go, I produce my first video, and then I decide I'm going to try and make a video every week while I'm here, just because it's fun. I'm enjoying like having the community. I'm enjoying all that stuff. And then from there, it just kind of started to blossom out. In that first year of college, thankfully, I had a lot of money saved up through scholarships because I wasn't working. It's a D3 school. I got scouted to my school for football, but I ended up not playing because of how they did some things in the background. I'm not going to really speak on that. In that first year, I pump out videos like as much as I can. I just keep at it. And then finally I hit something that I don't think anybody had tried yet, which was the whole format of what if Goku had landed on X planet? And that was with the Namek storyline. And that was my first big video to hit like a break where stuff started to really blow up until the point that I think in my freshman year, I ended with 5,000 subscribers. And the day of us getting out for that semester, that last semester freshman year, was the day I got monetized.
I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah. So, and from there, I felt like, okay, this is something real. This is something I could do. And I really knew that the next year, when all that scholarship money it mostly ran out, and I was able to sustain myself just off ad revenue, to the point I one day had this day where my mom called me and she was like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, you haven't asked for anything." And I was like, yeah, I mean, YouTube's taking care of me. And that was a really nice feeling to have. I still go back and forth with my parents sometimes about like whether YouTube was a real job or not, and which is funny because I file taxes. So, I mean, objectively.
Technically.
Objectively. But that's pretty much my origin.
So I think that was all of the questions that I had. So we move on to the final topic of today's show, which is the questions that we have for each other. So who would like to go first?
I'll take this first because I'm kind of on a time limit here.
Okay.
So my first question will be for you, Pickle.
Okay.
So you said that I was a big inspiration on you actually taking the leap. You even messaged me that last night.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, now that you've taken the leap, how far do you want to go?
I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I want to run with this as far as I can. I love doing this. I would love to try and turn into a career. I mean, I've always known that storytelling is my great love. So yeah, I think that's it. I want to take it as far as I can. I want to run it till I can't run it anymore.
Good to hear. It's good to hear. And I think that type of passion, wanting to consistently drive forward, is what will help you grow going forward. Because that's what helped me push forward, and just continuously improving yourself is what helped me grow as well. So that's very, very good that you say that. And a story is always what's going to bring people in. So good to hear that. My next one for you is for you, Trainer Dino. So you have a lot of interesting topics on your channel and everything. And my main question to you is, out of all the topics that you've covered so much, which one is a passion project for you? Like, which one is one that you know that without a shadow of a doubt that this is one you're going to want to do even if it doesn't do well?
That would have to be what if Naruto was in Pokemon, for sure. Because even like someone in the Discord once asked me that, why do you what are your motivations behind doing the Dragon Clan story and the Naruto story? Because I was running them simultaneously, and so I told them the Dragon Clan story, even though I love doing it, it's more so for the views, but the Naruto story was for like my soul, because I enjoyed that doing that so much because I love the concept of merged universes, and I just felt that when I started making the Naruto story in the Kalos region, for every gym battle, like I was even though I was the one making the story, I was like genuinely excited that okay, tomorrow I get to work on the Naruto story. The Dragon Clan story is over. Like that's okay, that's fine. It brings views, it brings subscribers, that's well and good. But I was genuinely excited whenever I got to make the Naruto story. I have put it on halt recently, but I will get back to it, sure.
Okay. That's good. That's good. And I believe that every channel has to have that one passion project.
Yeah.
So that's definitely good to hear. And my last one is for you, Plus, and this is a very simple one. This is one that I've had for a long time now, and I don't know if I've asked it to you, and I don't think I ever have. But what made you want to reach out to me in general, out of because of how small I was? What was it that captured your attention and made you just want to, like, you're like the godfather in wanting to help people and help grow this community. So I'm curious to that.
So my answer to this actually kind of ties into one of my questions for you guys, which is I personally see a lot of problems with the what if community, which I'll be the first to admit sounds pretentious as all hell. I am perfectly fine in admitting that. Like, oh yes, it's high form of art, the what if community. Like I get that, but like I mean I truly do. Like there are certain things that people who make the content I make do that I think is not just like a faux pas for what ifs, but just a faux pas is like a content creator. It's stuff that is like I think the most egregious example I could probably give that I know I've talked about with almost everyone here is the people stealing fan fictions and then labeling those what ifs. And
yes.
then, not just stealing them, not just like adapting the story, but just put like copy and pasting it and putting it in text to speech and then calling that work. That is like disgusting to me. And it's disgusting for not only the fact that, you're not actually engaging your mind at all. It's disgusting because a lot of them do not credit the artist or the author. Well, they don't credit the artist either because most of them end up using art that they have no permission to use and probably don't even know the original artist from because they just looked up edgy Naruto photo number 62. And then I think probably the most egregious part about that is that they never choose any of the interesting like Naruto fan fictions out there, which there are some really good ones. They choose the ones that are, I think some of the really bad thumbnails I've seen lately are what if Naruto struggled with marriage question or something where it's like supposed to be some kind. And I never actually got to view it, but I assume it's absolute dog shit. And and the other thing is like there's a lot of people in the what if community who make content that I'm sure they're not proud of. They just are proud that they made it, or they're proud that they have X number of subscribers, or they're proud that they have a video with X number of views. But that's not like pride in anything they've actually done. That's just pride in something they've been a part of when it really comes down to it. Because you didn't do anything in that case. So yeah, my point is you at a early age in your channel and your stuff were already doing a lot of things that I think are the right thing to do. They were the things that I felt like I was trying to do in my first year or my first time being a content creator. You had gumption, you had some real ambition. It wasn't just I want to come and put the worst PNGs of X character on screen that I can and then mumble through a story. It was no, I want to actually create something. I want to engage someone's mind in something. And that's beautiful to me. That's really something I can admire, and that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah, that's one of the things is like, and I look back at my older videos, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I actually put that out. Oh, it's like I can edit so much better now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's definitely a high touch point for me. So
I mean,
but yeah,
I still love your old work for what it's worth, and I'm sure many of your fans do, but I definitely can empathize that feeling. Like that's why I've been so reticent to go back and continue my first series just because I look at that first video and go, this does not reflect all I've been fortunate enough to learn in these past few months.
And you're supposed to feel that way. That's another thing. So many people get content with where they are, and they're like, you might not be making the fan fiction and text to speech tier content, but you're probably making something that you could improve on. You know, maybe you're not reading through the script. Maybe you're not scripting at all. There's something you can do that you currently aren't doing that you should just consider. Like, hey, maybe I can work on that. And I don't think enough people who make the content we make are doing that.
Yeah, it's the consistent quest for just personal betterment in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, if you truly care about something, you're going to want to improve your craft. At every switch, every turn, you're going to want to try new things. You're going to want to learn how to do things. You know, you're going to look at that video and go, how do I do that in my video? You know, that type of deal.
Yeah.
So.
Just saw the video that you mentioned, and I just flashed the thumbnail up. Like, it looks absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. I got about a minute or two into it, and I couldn't. I tried because I was going to give you a report of if it was truly as bad as feared, and well, seeing as how I bailed.
Said channel also uses the name of another Pokemon, another Naruto What If YouTuber, who I think retired from making What If few months ago. So that's like
that's not
cherry on
trash.
top of.
That's trash.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, unfortunately, I do have to cut out. I got a doctor's appointment I got to be to, but it was nice chatting with all you guys. Definitely have to do this again. Plus, I'll be in touch so we can do our one-on-ones with GSA.
Yeah, man.
All right. Pickle, I'll be in touch with you too. I'm getting an outline put together for the project that I'm working on.
Awesome.
So, all right.
Hit me up. I've got plenty of thoughts to add as well.
Right now I'm putting together information so I can start getting renderings done for the characters. So
excellent.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for hosting this, and we'll see you again.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Okay, so do either of you guys want to do your questions next, or shall I go into mine?
Yeah, I think you should go into yours.
Okay.
That sounded weird. I'm sorry.
That's all good. So, Dino, I'll start with you, because I've got a more clear sort of wording of the question in my head for yours. So I know you were talking earlier about a couple of, your other series, and we've talked in the past about ones that you tried that didn't really pick up views. Yep. If you were to restart one of your old series, either continuing on from where you left off or giving it a total reboot from one of your old stories using all of the things you've learned now, which series would you want to do that with?
Definitely What If Paul challenged the Battle Frontier, because I think with the experience that I have gotten from the Dragon Clan story and the Surge sponsoring Ash story, I think those two blend in together very well. And there are a lot of elements that I have experienced in both the stories that I could definitely use in the Paul story to make it better.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I thought it was an interesting story. I've always liked your content, so I think that'd be very interesting to see if you ever do go down that avenue again.
Yep.
Yeah. And for you plus Ultraman, my question is, a little vaguer. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best wording for it, so I may need to take a couple swings at it.
No problem, friend.
Yeah. Basically, my question for you kind of boils down to, if you were to have like all the experience you have now, all you've done, what do you think would be the most important lesson you could pass down? Let me phrase it simplest. If you were starting out again today, what do you think is the most important lesson you'd want to have from all you've learned and all you've done?
Consistency is probably the easiest one to talk about when all is said and done. But that's, I can't sit around and act like I didn't know to be consistent.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if it counts so much. If I could pass on any lesson, it would probably be tenacious and also be gracious, or be graceful. You know, don't stoop to lows. I think me and you had talked about this a little earlier with how some people will decide to mention that they to make content in other people's comment sections.
Yes.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with self-promoting yourself or self-promoting if you know how to do it in a tasteful way. I truly believe that. If you can self-promote in a way that, and by tasteful, I mean, and this is mostly around the idea of comment sections. This isn't just you go anywhere and you try anything and you walk out to the nearest McDonald's and you talk about how don't do that. But my point is, say you're in a comment section, somebody is making content very similar to what you do or what you want to do. I think a really easy thing you can do is give your take. And I don't mean like, this was good, by the way, I do this too. I mean, give a take, made this decision. I thought that was really interesting. I actually have a similar story in which I do X and blah, 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 blah. And then at that point, you begin to advocate for your story better than you could just by saying, hey, I do this too, by sitting there. Oh, damn it. By sitting there and actually, showing people what you're like, showing people your thought process, showing people that someone they've already kind of connected to as on a creative level, has not maybe a contemporary if you don't know that person yet, but I mean, at least someone who thinks about things in a similarly interesting way. So yeah, I mean, be tenacious, but be graceful at the same time. Just because you can do something doesn't always mean you should. Or if you're in a Discord server that is nice enough to let you self-promo there, don't only be in the server for self-promo. And if you're going to be in the server and just self-promo, try and stay like on topic. Like if it's a topic of like, hey, we're a Dragon Ball server, don't go in and post your Pokemon what ifs. That would be a little rude, stuff like that. Tenacity and grace can get you really, really far.
Totally agree. So, which of you guys would like to ask your questions now?
Dino, do you want to close them off with yours, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, I guess I'll ask the question. So first of all, my question will be for Pickledale. You made the story, I think it was, I'm sorry, I'm like really sleepy right now. It was what if Paul and Ash were twins?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so why did you pick Paul in particular? I know that there's the duality concept that you talked about, but why, let's just say if you had a choice to pick any rival other than Paul, who would you pick?
I mean, if I had to pick a rival other than Paul, this is probably a pretty boring answer, but I'd probably either do Gary, Alan, or Gladion. I think Gladion could make a really interesting story. In fact, I have a half-finished draft for What If Ash and Gladion were twins. But I think, Gary would be really interesting because that would then come with all the Oak baggage, and Alan would come with, like being part of Professor Sycamore's story and, all that, the connection to Lysander, which I think is really interesting. So I'd probably do any of them. As for why I picked Paul, it's actually kind of funny. So originally, the script I was writing was What If Ash and Dawn were twins? But yes, I see you, IRL. Yes.
No, that was not IRL. That was me thinking about how the story could be.
Yes, I'm sure. Anyway, yes, originally it was that, but I felt it was a bit too similar to What If Ash and May were twins, this was all in preparation for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl coming out. And I thought about it and went, this Dawn story is fine, and I probably will revisit it at some point after I've had a little bit of a break from Sinnoh. But I thought, actually, you could get a much more narratively rich story by putting these two sides of the same coin together and seeing how they would affect each other from a lifetime of influence. Plus, then I started getting excited about the idea of, well, if this is set during the time of Paul's first journey, it would be a slightly different Sinnoh. And so that was how I decided to go with that story.
Okay. And next question is for Plus Ultraman. This is related to your second channel, which is Beyond Plus Ultra, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Yeah. So you covered the fanfic there. It was Better Left Unsaid. You told me to listen to it. I listened. I think I'm halfway there, and it's a pretty good fanfic. And my question is that there is another fanfic. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Son of the Sanin. Have you heard of it?
I haven't.
Yeah. So my question was, why did you pick Better Left Unsaid?
Kenshi618 is the author of Better Left Unsaid. He is an author I have read since back in those high school days when I was thinking about starting a YouTube channel, and the concept of what ifs was kind of in my mind. Kenshi boasts the fact that he is an MMA fighter, which gives all of his kind of approaches to combat a real tangible sense. Like, you can tell he knows how to write someone getting punched in the face because he's had to spar before and handle getting punched in the face and not, freak out like most people do when that actually happens to him. Yep. So it was a matter of familiarity, which told me, like, hey, I know Kenshi's worth reading. I know Kenshi's actually worth doing that with. And it was also a matter of, I had read the original, like, 60 chapters of BLU in high school, I want to say, before I kind of gotten a little bored with it. And not even just bored. I think I had just gotten bored of reading fan fiction all the time. But yeah, that's pretty much the only reason why.
So
was just I knew about the story and I knew about the author.
So that leaves you with the last set of questions.
Trying to decide if I want to form them as being specifically for one of you versus not for one of you, or if I want to just ask you both as a whole. 'Cause I know one of them is a question you'll both end up, giving your takes on.
Yep.
I'll just ask one of them as a whole. What are the biggest issues with the what if community you guys can currently see?
For me, I mean, you've already covered it. I think it's that sort of issue of the text to speech, the low effort sort of sleaziness of that sort of just plagiarism. And I'm not looking for what ifs to be heralded as high art or on par with opera and great paintings, but those of us, like the three of us, Ronan, a lot of content creators, they put their heart and their soul into their content and they try their best. So to see those people working their hardest and then seeing some scumbag who steals something off fanfiction.net, puts it in text to speech, and gets just as much, if not more kudos, is just really, really disappointing, and it encourages that sort of terrible behavior. Like, I don't mind if you're not that talented if you try. Like, I know that in the past, I've watched series where I've gone, okay, this person, doesn't really understand this part of storytelling or of editing or of whatever. you can tell they're trying their best every time, and so I have a lot of respect for that, and I'll happily support that because I think that's what the community needs.
I think that's a good take.
Yeah, it would have to be similar answer for me, and I would like to add a layer to the text and speech situations. Uh, we have all spent good money on microphones, right? So just think about that. Ultraman, you mentioned that when you didn't have a good microphone, you used to cover yourself with a heavy blanket just to cancel out the noise. Remember that?
Yeah, no, I used to drip with sweat to attempt to get good
Yeah.
audio. And it wouldn't even be good audio. It would be just past decent audio.
Yeah. And think about it. Those fucking, sorry for the language, those idiots, they completely bypass this entire process of audio recording in general. They completely skip it and they have a robot doing that for them. And like I said, how much I loved making the Naruto what if. And there is this dude, or again, I don't know the gender, of course. There's this channel which has an artwork of Bulbasaur in Gamabunta outfit. I'm pretty sure that's not his art. He actually garnered more views on his What If Naruto was in Pokemon, which I'm sure he copied off of me because that became public like after 2 weeks of me making my own story.
Yep.
And then he ran through it with a text to speech, and that like fucking pissed me off so much that the thought about reporting it, I'm just going to be honest here. I don't pretend that I'm a generous guy, that much of a generous guy by any means. So I thought about reporting it, but then I was like, no point in even wasting any brain cells on this shit. So I just posted like, don't recommend this channel, and I was done with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you have had some experience in similar sorts of things, and it makes you pretty heartsick when you see something you've put effort into be ripped off, particularly by people not putting any effort in.
And
Yeah.
not even just ripped off sometimes, like made worse because the quality or just the effort put in doesn't match your own. And because you've already, sat there and done it so hard, you probably are already going to be the hardest critic on it. So I mean, it's already a thing where it makes it harder for you to enjoy stuff. And then you have the issues where, like you guys are saying, like, oh, PUM, you're the king of reaching out to people. It probably shouldn't be like that. But because of the way fans are and creators are, I think a lot of people take ownership of certain things that they probably shouldn't try to take ownership of. And then that results in, well, now your feelings are hurt when someone else tries the idea and possibly does it better than you did. All that stuff that's a real slippery slope that we all have to kind of deal with.
Yeah, I have no problem if someone tries to do, the same idea or a similar idea if they, make it different. They try their best and, put their own spin on it. I encourage that. More power to them. But when it's just a lazy ripoff, often run through a robot, that is just.
It's insane. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make, because you'll sit there and you'll be really confused as to why people are even watching it when they have an original version to go watch, or just like all this stuff. And it's a weird headspace to put yourself in as anybody, not just a creator. It's a lot like the dilemma of, okay, hey man, I get you're just trying to pass the class, but please don't look over on my paper so we both get in trouble for, plagiarism. That's wild. And thankfully it doesn't happen all the time. Like most of the times I've noticed. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that because the Pokemon What If community is still like a bit brand new, that's why you don't see these things, but these things are very evident in the older What If communities like Naruto and Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's also why I'm kind of a little more stoic, or not stoic, but serious about this idea, just because I've had to deal with it a lot more. I think if I had to name my biggest issues with the community right now, actually, I have a handy dandy little note sheet from a little drinking game I've been playing about this. A lot of storytelling is too shallow. A lot of people will have an anime that they have like based the story off of, and they stick way too close to it. A lot of people will just use random contrivances in their story because it makes it easier for them to write than having to actually like sit there and think of the logistics of how this would happen or why this would happen. What else? A lot of people just add in random anime BS, which is funny because it's already anime stuff. A lot of people will misuse the runtime of a video, which is crazy to me because I mean you're the one setting that, and you're the one setting the pace. So it would make more sense to me that you figure out how long you need to pace something and what all you need to make sure gets said and done in that time frame.
What are the other ones?
People waste time on bad jokes all the time. It's actually very annoying. Like the most cliche joke that everyone has ever heard about these series, and we're wasting time on telling me the same thing about it. Plagiarism we've already talked about. Oh, I can't get why you would do anything that is dependent on a narrative, and that narrative being given through the medium of narration, and you wouldn't re-record your lines. Like if you have the opportunity to say, you know what, that's not said very clearly, or what I'm trying to say isn't really communicated as clearly, let me just go ahead and cut that little bit out and re-record. Unnecessary references that don't really add to anything, bad dialogue / repetition. But I think the number one issue that I've seen with What Ifs as of recently is a lot of people do not have a confident grasp of the characters that they're trying to speak on. So it makes it more obvious, number one, when they try to change the character up or when they try and put the character in new settings, because that ill understanding of how the foundation of the character has already kind of set you up for failure in a way.
I mean, I know that, in my experience, and we've talked about this, there's this weird propensity in What Ifs to try and turn, the protagonist into Naruto, like, just give their back, like that character, Naruto's, backstory and personality, because they don't
we've
really...
been noticing this, and actually, I'll go ahead and admit it. We've been noticing this a lot with Pokemon What Ifs, where it's just like, also for some odd reason, Ash is being bullied. And we'll sit there and kind of, we don't look at each other, but we'll sit there and be very confused. Why?
Yeah.
For what reason is he being bullied? By who? Who are these mystery kids that we've never met who can bully him?
Yes, because he was never bullied in canon, And
one of them was youngster Joey.
Yeah, him and Gary were cool, like at least when they were kids. And then the other issue with it is Ash is actually a fundamentally really different character from Naruto. I know that's probably the best example we could kind of give of it. And that's mostly because, for one, not orphaned, but for another, while they're both kind of scrappy, they'll both kind of like be rowdy and let you know how they feel about something. Ash in his like original story he was a dick, man. Like he was a little jerk. Like he would really let you know how he felt about something, to the point that it would be kind of hard to misinterpret him or to ignore him the way that Naruto gets ignored and misinterpreted, to where he has to do the things that everyone's like, oh, he's being a brat and all that stuff. Or just like the boiling down of character X was a protagonist. Oh yeah, female characters as well. That's another thing. People have to stop writing female characters as is girl. That's crazy to me.
That's right. If their only trait, like, it's a fun little thing where it's like, okay, describe this female character to me, not by what they do, just tell me who they are as a person. If the only trait you can tell me is that they are a girl, you have failed.
Yeah, are a girl, or they like and do stereotypically quote unquote girly things.
Yes.
Sasuke
It's
Uchiha
really
is the best female character I've ever seen in a What If story. So props for you.
Yeah, I mean, I love, that's one of the, What If X was a girl ones that I really do enjoy.
I really tried to approach that one with some nuance and say like, okay, well, I mean, these characters are by no means defined by their gender.
Yep.
So I have to find in some place where it would kind of help. And I think that Naruto has this really weird thing with eugenics and gender, which really creep me out sometimes. But anyway, females or Kunoichi and Naruto typically always have better chakra control than male shinobi. So that was one thing that was going to change, was that Sasuke's chakra control was going to be better. Therefore, she'd be stronger. Therefore, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And there was some other things I changed too. Like I think I had also written her to have had just better social skills on average than you would expect from Sasuke, which just
from socialization.
Resulted in like better issues of socialization. But I mean, there's a lot and I could probably sit here and make a whole nother podcast about just ragging on certain things that people in the What If community do. But I think what it all boils down to is we got to stop being satisfied with good enough. We got to stop being satisfied with, well, I found a render of Naruto and I changed the colors on his shirt, and now he is this different version of Naruto. Which, hey, man, I've done the same thing. It's easy, it's cheap, but at the same time, I think one of the things I get praised for most is that my stories have, and I keep using the term tangible just because it's really easy to use in this sense. They have a nearly physical way of showing, things in this timeline are changed. These characters are not the ones that we know, or at least if they are very similar, there's still something around them that has changed. Stuff like in the Jiraiya adopted Naruto story, when I have Jiraiya become a Hokage. Sure, I went the route of, okay, let me get a new Jiraiya design. But I also went the route of, hey, I can't use any Hokage monuments from canon anymore. I just can't. Like, none of them will work. Because by the time the Tsunade's on there, I've already kind of broke up from canon way too bad. So stuff like that. It's the small places that you can put effort in. Try and put that effort in. Because I promise you it'll pay off at some point.
Okay, so even though that was a bit of a critical note, we have to end on it. Thank you guys for joining this podcast. It was really difficult to organize, and of course that's a story for another day. It was a crazy past 6 hours, I think.
Yes.
Let's give Pickled Lil some sleep, for
Yes,
God's
it
sake,
is.
Kavina. Yeah.
It is currently 5:32 a.m. here. I think I woke up at 6 yesterday and haven't slept. So this has been fun. I'm hoping that what I've said is coherent, and when we listen back, it hasn't just been insane ramblings.
Definitely.
No one's understood you this entire time.
Yeah.
No one's ever understood me. I don't even have a YouTube channel.
Pickle, we're not real.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's all in my head.
But thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. All right. See you guys next time.
Yes, see you next time.
Yeah.
You
Stay
too.
safe and God bless everyone.
Thanks. See ya.